So today we'll be looking at how to analyze the financial statements in the Nigerian stock market. So this is just like a practical guide on how to navigate the Nigerian stock market and also how to identify high potential stocks. And I believe that people that are attending this class are people that have knowledge of the Nigerian stock market or the stock market in general, or people that are trying to know what the stock market is all about. So let's just proceed to the presentation. Then I would like you to write down your questions so that at the end of this class, if you have any question, you can feel free to ask me. Um, okay. So now we are going to go straight to what we have for today. First of all, we are going to look at the Nigerian stock market landscape. Now, in the stock market, we have different opportunities to grow your money, to grow your wealth, right? And this opportunity cuts across different sectors in the economy. Now we have from the banking sector to the industrial sector to the construction sector, telecommunication sector, and the rest of them. Now, the Nigerian stock market is filled with a lot of opportunities that as an investor you cannot ignore, right? I was talking with one of my mentees, was it I think during the week, and he was telling me an opportunity he saw about a particular stock to buy, and the stock have been very promising, and I gave him a go ahead order after doing some fundamental analysis on the stock. So that's why we are holding this class, so that we'll be able to know how you can do that fundamental analysis on your own without anybody doing it for you, right? Now, if you look at the landscape of Nigerian stock market, you see that we have what we call market dominance, and this market dominance has to do with market capitalization. If you're in my first training about investing in stock market, I talked to us about market capitalization, what market capitalization is, right? How we have companies with high market cap, we have companies with medium market cap, and we have companies with low market cap. And I told you guys that when you're doing your fundamental analysis, that the company with high market cap are more companies that you need to look into, because their portfolio is showing stability, right? So now this is one of the landscape you need to look before you start, before you say that this company is even worthy of doing a fundamental analysis, right? Then also have to look at the volatility, how the stock price moves, whether it is very volatile, it increases, tomorrow it goes down deep, next tomorrow it increases. So the volatility drivers, things that causes the movement of the price of the stock in the market. Then you also have to consider the dividend attractions. Now, is this company a company that pays dividend? I was looking, I think sometime ending of last month, I was looking at my portfolio and I noticed something. I was like, most of my stocks are capital appreciating stocks, right? I was like, I need to balance the equation, because you don't just have only capital appreciating stocks. You also need to add some dividend stocks to it. Companies that pay dividend consistently. Now, it's one thing to pay dividend and it's another thing to pay that dividend consistently. So we also need to look out for companies that pay dividend consistently, right? And also you also need to look out for regulatory oversight, the aspect of regulatory bodies in Nigeria like SEC, NGS, and know their relationship with this company, right? Like yesterday, I was looking at a company's website. I was on their website and I noticed that they had issues with NGX. That NGX had to suspend them. If you guys remember what happened to Zichis Agro Allied Limited, that's for those people that are in my mentorship group. I told them there's a time I gave them a go ahead order to buy that stock, and something happened. They had to suspend them. Although the NGX later renewed, opened, gave them access to the stock market. So these are the landscape you need to check before you even say that you are picking, you want to conduct a fundamental analysis, you want to conduct a financial analysis on a particular stock. Now we are going to move to the next slide. Now this next slide has to do with the three pillars of financial analysis, right? Now, when we're talking about financial analysis, basically
Sorry,
what we're
excuse.
looking at
I
is
can't see your screen. Are you sharing your screen?
you can't see it.
Yes.
Are you serious?
I'm also not seeing your screen. Oh.
Okay. Thank you for. Can you see it now?
No, I cannot see it.
You cannot see it.
I can.
I cannot see it. No.
Please, if you can see it, identify on the chat box, please. Can we all see the screen?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, I can see it now.
Okay. All right. So now we are going to talk about the three pillars of financial analysis. And I was telling you guys that when we talk about financial analysis, basically what we're talking about is the financial statement of a company, right? Financial statement of a company. Now, this financial analysis is or financial statement is divided into three. We have the first one is the income analysis. We have the balance sheet, and we have the cash flow statement. So every financial statement of a company must have these three categories. You must you must be able to see their income statement, you must be able to see their balance sheet statement, and you also need to see their cash flow statement. So we are going to look at them one after the other and know what each of them is all about. Now, when we talk about income statement, it shows you the numbers of the company. It measures their performance over a period of time. Let's say most at times some audited financial statement of some companies, you will see a comparison between their current year and the previous year. Let's say 2024 and 2025, or 2025 and 2026, right? So let me know whether I have to add some people. Okay, let me admit some people. Hold on. Hope you guys can still see my screen, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So like I was saying, so the income statement, it measures the performance of the company over a period of time. How much how much did this company make in 2025? How much did they make in 2024? So that's what the income statement is all about. It shows you the key matrices, that's the revenue, the gross margin, and the operating profit. Now, these three stuffs are not the same. Revenue is just like the amount of money they generate. When you subtract your your profit from the cost of production. Let's say that it took a company and so amount of money to produce. So when you subtract the whole amount of money it took you from what you sold those products, then the gross margin has to do with the profit that you derive from the sale of those products, right? That's what we call the gross margin. And this gross margin is just like the profit that the tax have not been deducted from. That's you have not deducted the tax from it. And also the operating profit has to do with the amount of money that is left after all this tax and all other deductibles have been deducted from. So now the essence of this income statement is it focuses on profitability and efficiency to know how profitable a company is. That's why we tend to look at the income statement and to know how efficient a company is. Now, yesterday night I was looking at UBA financial statement, and it happened that UBA, they did not declare for dividend because I think they don't have enough profit to share to their shareholders. Then I also looked at one company that has a deficit. When I talk about deficit, I think their account statement is reading red, right? So you see that it shows you how efficient this company is. Is this company making money? Are they profitable? That's what income statement is all about. Then when you look at the balance sheet has to tell you how healthy the company is. It shows you the asset of the company. And you know, asset is the anything that makes a company more money, right? Liabilities of the company, whether the company is in debt, and the equity, the amount of money they use in doing business. Now, the focus of this balance sheet is that it focuses on liquidity and solvency, how much money they have in doing business with, right? When we talk about liquidity, we are talking about cash flow. How much do they have? How much are they using to do business? When you subtract your liability from your assets, how much is left, right? So the balance sheet helps you to know how healthy a company is. Some company might be in debt, and I told you guys that companies that are in debt, their health status is not advisable to invest in such company, right? Because their health status is very low, or you can say they are negative, right? Then if you look at this third aspect of financial analysis, we have the cash flow statement. So the cash flow statement tracks the movement of cash, how a company invest their money, what they do with their money. Even you as an investor, how do they invest that money I've given to them? Their production level, how they operate, and what they invest in, right? So it focuses on earnings and cash sustainability, so that it will not be that you are giving a company money, you are buying shares from a company and they are using your money to do other things that is not even adding value or is not making your money to work for you. So these are the three pillars of financial analysis when it comes to deciding or making a decision on which company to invest in. Now we are going to look at the next slide. So the next slide, we are going to look at a case study. Let's say we have Dangote cement industry. Now, I was telling my mentees that day about this recent um listing of Dangote refinery and what they need to do in order to be ready, so that once the IPO is being done, they can have access to buying the shares. So now, but we are going to use Dangote cement as a case study. Now, if you look at this data, you see that there is a comparison between 2023 and 2022, right? So this is the revenue, that's the amount of money. This has to do with income statement, right? I told you guys it's divided into three. We have income, and the second one that has to do with the health, right? Then the third one, which is the cash flow. So when you look at the comparison between their revenue between 2023 and 2022, you see that their revenue increased by 36%. Now, this is profit after tax. So once their revenue is being calculated, they are being taxed, right? And it's expected that you check the profit after tax. And when they are being taxed, you see that their profit reduced to 19%. That means the tax rate increased within the space of 1 year, right? Then this EPS means earning per share, right? How much does a unit of share makes from the profit? Let's say that the company has the whole amount of share being sold by Dangote is 1 million shares. Now, this 1 million shares, if you divide it by the profit, how much did a unit of share make for that financial year? That's the earning per share. Now, if you look at the strategic analysis, you see that what we have here, we say despite the rising production costs and inflationary pressures, Dangote Cement maintains strong margin, and this was achieved through pricing power, blah blah blah, and the rest of them. So you see that once you look at the income statement of Dangote, comparing the 2 years, you see that they did what? They did very well. Now, I used to say something about margin. I used to say that profit and margin are not the same thing. Sometimes if you are talking in finance terms, you need to know what all these things mean. The average Nigerian, if you ask him, are you a businessman? He will tell you yes. You ask him, okay, how much did you make in January? He will tell you, let's say 500,000. Now that 500,000, most people used to call it profit. It's not profit, right? It is called margin. Now let me tell you the difference between profit and margin. Margin is the amount of money you make after you have subtracted your cost price from your selling price, blah blah blah, and the rest of them. Now, profit is the money you make on an invested margin. That's why if you look at this statement, you'll be telling you margin. We rarely use profit, right? So let's say if you're a business person now and you make 500,000. Now, as a business person or as a financial advisor, I will not ask you to spend the whole 500,000 because that's not your profit. The money you are allowed to spend is when you have invested that your 500,000 and that your 500,000 makes another money for you. That money is now called profit. That's when you even have the right to spend the money. So I want us to be clear on this, to know the difference between profit and margin. Now we'll move to the next slide. Please, if you have question, just put it down so that after this class, I will take your question. Now, this is Zenith Bank, right? So Zenith Bank, you see their income statement. And I told you guys, if you are investing in the stock market, please make sure that your portfolio is diversified. When I mean diversified, I mean don't just invest all your money in a particular sector of the economy. Let's say you have 500,000 naira now. You carry 100,000 naira and buy Zenith Bank. Carry another 100,000 naira and buy UBA. Carry another 100,000 naira and buy Access. Carry another one and buy GT. If something happens to the banking sector, your president can just wake up one day now and say something, and the banking sector will start shaking. You see that all your investments will start reading negative. So if you want to invest in the banking sector, you invest a portion of your money. Let's say you also invest in, there are some silent sectors that people don't know about that are making millions of money in Nigeria. We have the consumables, right? We have agro allied. We have a construction sector. Dangote Cement is under construction sector, and we have telecommunication sector too. So make sure that your portfolio is well diversified so that when there is a shock in the economy and it affects a particular sector, you'll be at a safer hand because your money is not in just that particular sector. So if you are at loss in this particular sector, you are making money in other sectors. So now this is Zenith Bank, and with the look of things, you see that Zenith Bank also made profit. Now I told you guys when we are talking about the landscape in our first slide, I told you guys that you need to, for you to even start your fundamental analysis, make sure that that company has a large cap. Now if you look at 2023 in bracket, we have naira in billions to tell you that the market cap of Zenith Bank is operating in what? In billions. That's why we're analyzing it, right? So if you look at the income statement and you see that there is an increase, right? I also show you guys how to get this statement. It is a sign that that is a healthy what? Is a healthy stock that you can buy. So we are going to move to the next slide. Now, this
Cannot
is,
screen.
you cannot see the screen.
I have been up my hand.
Please, is she the only one that cannot see the screen?
Yes.
Others, can you see the screen? Please identify.
Yes,
Yes.
I can.
So,
Yes.
Onyinyechi, I don't know why you can't see my screen.
Uh, yes. No problem.
So let's just continue. There is no time, please. So now we're going to look at the another MTN Nigeria. So this is their data 2022, 2023. You see that their revenue did what? The revenue, what happened to the revenue from 2022 to 2022 to 2023? It increased, right? Now, the operating profit, it also increased. But when it came to net profit and net loss, after tax have been deducted, you notice that it decreased, right? That's why we have 137.0. While that of 2022 is 348.7. Now, this is something that can happen. And when you see such data, you will know that there is a question to be asked. Now, if you look at it, we have a challenge here. We said, why the core business remained robust with double-digit revenue growth, the bottom line was severely impacted by a devaluation in naira, right? So now this is a problem of exchange rates. When we talk about naira devaluation, a decrease in the value of naira, that's what impacted or what affected the profit. And you know that MTN is a foreign company, right? In as much as we have MTN Nigeria, but it's being controlled by the main MTN as a conglomerate, right? So that's why it's being affected because of the exchange rate. Now, if we go ahead to the next slide, we are going to look at the key ratios for stock selection. The key ratios for stock selection. Now, I told you guys, although it's not here, the first thing you need to consider is the market cap. Then you also look at the PE ratio, price to earning ratio, right? It shows you the how much a stock makes per unit of a stock that is being bought. Then we also look at debt to equity ratio. It assesses the financial leverage. The high ratio may indicate risk in rising interest rate environment. So now this debt to equity ratio has to do with the amount of debt a company owes relative to the equity, the amount of money they use in doing business. So you also need to check them, and there are formulas for this too. Then we also have return on equity, how much the equity a company have makes. Let's say it measures how efficiently management is using shareholders capital to generate profit. Now this shareholders capital is what we call what? Equity. Now when you are buying shares, you are just giving a company your money to what? To use it to do business. And when they use that money to do business, if they make profit, they will give you a percentage of that profit, right? That's what we call dividend. So you also need to look at the return on equity and also look at their dividend yield, how consistent a company have been in paying dividend over a period of time. There are some companies that they will pay this year, next year they will not pay, next 2 years they will pay. Do you understand? So they are not consistent. But there are some companies that over the past 10 years they have been paying dividend. So these are companies that you need to look out for. Now, things you need to look out for that when you see, you know that this is a go ahead order for you. Now, we said a good stock combines strong fundamentals with a reasonable entry price. Strong fundamentals with a reasonable entry price. Now, I want to explain this sentence I just said now. Now, once you have seen from what I said in our previous slide that the fundamental is very okay, you need to enter the market at a reasonable price. You don't just enter the market because their fundamentals okay. I see there's this lady that entered my DM and was like, "Sir, please, I want to buy MTN stock. I want to buy MTN stock." I was like, "MTN stock is overvalued." Do you understand? So now, in as much as you want to buy MTN stocks now, you buying it, these are stocks that big institutional traders trade. As somebody that is starting, and the funniest part is that after saying that thing, the person will tell you, "Sir, I have 5,000 naira to invest," and you want to buy MTN stock that is almost 1,000 naira. How many units are you buying? Just five. Do you understand? So you need to look for promising stocks that are still starting, stocks that have potential to grow, not stocks that have made it, right? Now we have um sorry, I want to admit some people. We have the banking sector. I was telling somebody, if you look at the banking sectors now, there are many banks. um there are many banks that have been into existence, and people have been investing. The other day GT released their financial statement, and they say they are paying 11 naira dividend per share, and everybody was like, "Let me go and buy GT, let me go and buy." I told my mentees, you can buy since they have not gotten to the amount, the dates they are closing their this thing. Is good, but the question is, ask yourself, what is the next bank in the banking sector that can perform as much as Zenith Bank and GT? These are the banks you need to invest in. If you have the money, good and fine, you can invest in GT. Now we have another sector like the agro allied sector, right? Now there are some companies in this agro allied sector like Presco, Okumu Oil, and the rest of them, that their stock price now is almost 1,000 naira, and their companies, this Zishi's agro allied I was talking about, I think it's just this year it's just this year. If you see their financials, I was studying their financials, someone posted it on LinkedIn as I was just going through it. you see mad profit, and they are just starting. And these are companies that have the potential to be like Presco, to be like Okumo Oil, to be like all these big agro-allied industries. Now, if you have money, you will now go and buy Presco that is almost 1,500 or 1,000. So what I'm trying to say in essence is that when you are buying a stock, you need to buy a stock with a reasonable price entry. And note that when you're buying a stock at a lower price, it gives you a leverage to buy more. Like in my portfolio now, I don't have any stock. I think it's just one that the unit of the unit I have is less than 10,000 units. And I'm trying to make it up to 10,000 units. I don't buy stocks that is less than 10,000 units because I know that when this stock perform well, it will give you a leverage of making more money, and you bought it at a cheaper price. So the sweetness of this investment is you being able to spot a company at a cheaper price and selling it at a higher price. Assuming you bought Presco oil or Dangote cement when it was 50 naira and today now is 950 naira, and you bought, let's say you bought 10,000 units. That 10,000 units now should be around, let's say 9.5 million. So that's the power of buying at a cheaper rate and buying in bulk and selling at a high rate. So you make sure that there's a consistent growth in the company that you're buying. So you're not just looking at the fundamentals, the income statement for just 1 or 2 years. You're looking at, let's say, for the past 5 years, how have this company been performing in the market, right? You look at what are they using this money for? What's their cash flow like? Are they investing? What's their debt ratio? Are they owing debt? All these things, you see it in their financial statements. How were they able to manage their debt? Do they have assets? Which sector is this company under? Right? So these are the things that you need to look out for. Like in Nigeria now, we have some good sector, like the banking sector is doing very well in Nigeria. The tech sector, although the tech sector is from more of United States stocks, they are doing very well, right? Consumable, agro-allied is doing very well in Nigeria, and construction sector also is doing very well in Nigeria. So you make sure you identify all these things. So when you see, you identify them and you're able to look at your fundamentals and it's okay, you can go ahead and buy those stocks. Then we have red lines, red flags to watch out for. Declining margins. Now when a company's profit is decreasing relative to another year, let's say you are looking at their fundamentals for the past five years, and for the past 5 years, the company's margin have been decreasing, it is a red flag. That company is not meant to you're not meant to invest in such company. So make sure that the company that you are investing, that they have been making profit, their margin have been growing over the year, right? And also make sure that those companies don't have any debt, they're not owing debt, right? Then also complex accounting. There are some companies that they normally delay in releasing their accounting books to the public. You know, all these companies they are public companies, so they are accountable to the public, to their shareholders, right? And also companies that they are operating, they have negative operating cash flow. Let's say they have more of liabilities than assets. So these are red flags in that you can, when you see, you not invest in such companies. Now we are going to look at these practical steps. Then after these practical steps, I'll show you guys um how to get some financial statements, then call it a day here. So we need to utilize some portals like the NGS portal. When you go to NGX portal, you see that there are many informations there that will help you. Even the financial statement too, you can also get it from there, depending on the company. Then most at times it's advisable to reinvest your dividend, right? Depending on your goal. I was telling my mentees that if you're an investor, you need to have a goal, you need to have something that you're targeting towards, right? So when you invest your dividend, it has a way to compound. And the sweetness of investing in the stock market is what? Compound interest. Then you also have to seek professional advice and also diversify. I talked about diversification, right? And you also have eyes for, if you don't used to listening to news, that's why we call it fundamental. Fundamental has to do with what? News. So this is a type of market, it's not like forex market that does more of technical analysis and the rest of them, right? The stock market thrives more on news. So you need to pay attention to news, know what is happening in the economy, right? So these are basically practical steps that you need to follow as a Nigerian investor. So now I would like to show us something on how to read where to get the account statement. So you can just go to NGX. I think this is their website. Then on their website, you can be able to get some informations. I don't know. This their website has been misbehaving for some time now, since yesterday night. This is what it has been showing. So when you get to their website, I think you come under here, you see there's a place that there's a search button where you can just type the names of some companies. Or better still, let's just look at this is a company. So now any public listed company, this is that agro company I was telling you guys about. Any public listed company must have their financial statements on their website. It's a must. You just have to look for where it is. And now we have news and updates. Okay, this one is audited financial statement for 2025. Let's see what we have here. Trying to see whether I can access. So please, before we look at the financial statement, please, if you have a question, and just ask me. Think we have just 14 minutes to leave this call. If you have a question, you can just ask me so that we'll call it a day here. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Please, if you have a question, just you can unmute yourself and ask your question. So no question. So I assume
No, I
that
have a question.
okay. What's the question, guys?
Um, if you want to investigate on a particular company, you have to go on their website, or is there a general platform that you can use to check out different companies and their financial statements?
Yes, there's
Is
a
it like
general
a one?
you
Okay,
okay.
go on.
You can get their financial statement on two different websites. The first one is NGX. If you can see my screen now, I am on NGX website. But I think their websites have been misbehaving. Even yesterday I was on their website. This was what it was showing, right? So you can get every company that is listed in the Nigerian stock market on this website. You can just take it on your phone. When you get there, you see a search button. Just click, type the name of the company you are looking for. Their financial statement will appear. You now click it and see what it looks like. Or you go to the company's official website, type the name of the company, and their financial statement will also appear. um
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. Any other question? Okay. So at the absence of any other question, I think we'll call it a day here. I want to appreciate every one of us that made out time to join the call, the training section. I can see Ruth, Patience, Joseph, and others. So if you have any other question, you can direct it to my DM and I'll attend you. Thank you so much, guys, for your time. And I hope that we can meet some other time for something more interesting like this. Thank you so much and good night. Have a beautiful night rest.